everybody, you know what today is? Today is day 27 of the 31 days of horror. Ow! Yeah, that was one of the worst howls. But it's a little early, so whatever. So, before we get started, I need you to like, subscribe, share, and comment. I always want to know what you have to say. We got 31 movies, we got 31 days, we got 31 reviews, hopefully 31 comments. I know there's a lot of you out there right now really trying to give me at least one comment today, and I thank you guys. That's the cool thing. There are other people doing this. Retro Horror, Random Horror, Mood 616, Double Shot J, Jennifer Toshi, Echo, King Gore, Half Cheetah, Wellview, I Am the Ice Lord. Tony has 9 fingers, but he's doing it over on TikTok. And the one and only MSJ. And if I missed anyone, I'm sorry. You know, I mean, but just go and type in 31 days of whatever, horror, Halloween, fright, you know, and I'm pretty sure you'll find something because a lot of people are doing this. So let's get on to the movie. The movie is Land of the Dead. This is George Romero's big budget movie. See, the problem with the first 3 movies he did is that George Romero, for the most part, was living from movie to movie. He would write a movie, he'd film a movie, and then he'd sell the movie. And he'd make money that way. I mean, he didn't really get a whole lot of residuals, you know, from our box office. You know, I mean, he'd just sell the movie to whatever distribution company, he'd move on. Night of the Living Dead to There's Always Vanilla, and from There's Always Vanilla to Martin, and so on. So he does Night of the Living Dead, sells it. He does Dawn of the Dead, sells it. He doesn't own any of the character rights now because he sold it to. That's why you never saw a character from Night of the Living Dead in. You know, no matter what the character, if it's a sheriff or what, no one made a transition over to Dawn of the Dead. And same thing from Dawn to Day. And so he does Day of the Dead, and again, he's just living from movie to movie. And then you got Land of the Dead. Land of the Dead comes out like in the early 2000s. And zombies are back in fashion again. So Universal says, hey, George, here's some money. Make us a movie. That's the reason this movie has, you know, names in it like John Leguizamo, Dennis Hopper, Simon Baker, Asia Argento. I mean, there's a ton of people in this movie that, you know, they're there because the budget would allow them to be there. Including Edgar Wright and Simon Pegg as zombies. This was after Shaun of the Dead, I believe. But they're in there. This has got to be one of my favorite ones, even though it's the big budget. You know, it feels like, oh, it's a sellout, but it's got one of the best stories. It takes place, you know, 20 years after 20 years or so after Day of the Dead, and you know, in that time, Dennis Hopper, who plays Kaufman, has established a nice little city where he controls everything. He lives in what's known as Fiddler's Green, which is this nice shiny tower, you know, where no one can get to him, you know, because zombies freak him out. That's one of his lines. And he employs the underprivileged to do his bidding, you know, take out the trash, and when I say trash, I'm talking about, you know, the zombies. And so he's created his own militia, our army, whatever you want to call it. He's created vices, you know, gambling, hookers, whatever you want, you can get it in this place. But even though you're earning your money. You're never going to be on their level, the people that live in Fiddler's Green. You know, most of Romero's movies came with a subtext. Night of the Living Dead was about the Watts riots. Dawn of the Dead was about consumerism. Day of the Dead was about, you know, the military. Well, Land of the Dead is about the differences of classes, the rich and the poor. And you really have to give it up for him because he really knows how to he really knows how to dig into that. And in this one you got to root for the poor. They're not poor. They're the working class. And then there's Dennis Hopper and his people in their ivory tower, you know, and they don't get their hands dirty. They don't care. So John Leguizamo thinks that he's earned enough money. He wants to live in Fiddler's Green, which is what's known as the ivory tower. And he says something to Dennis Hopper, and Dennis Hopper says, you know, you might have the money, but there's a long waiting list to be in here. And John Leguizamo gets it right away. He goes, oh no, you mean it's restricted? And he goes, you'll never be able to live here, you know. And so he leaves, and as he's leaving, Hopper calls over one of his goons and says, I don't need this guy anymore. In other words, take him out, you know. Oh yeah, that's nice. The guy's been doing all your work for you. Let's see you get your hands dirty. So they try to take him out, and what happens is John Leguizamo and his little company, his little band of merrymen, steal what's known as Dead Reckoning, which is an armor-plated RV with. And when I say RV, I'm using that sarcastically because it's about the size of an RV, but it's an armor-plated truck with multitude of weapons on it. You know, 6-inch guns and stuff like. I mean, might as well be. So they steal it, and he says, "If you want this vehicle back, I want $5 million, and I'm out of here." Dennis Hopper's not hearing it. He sends another guy, Simon Baker, after him to get the truck back and take out Leguizamo. It comes down to it. I mean, I don't want to give away the whole movie, but it's a really well done movie. There's a lot of really cool gore effects in here. Tom Savini does show up in this movie in a cameo, and he looks and dresses just like his character from Dawn of the Dead. They just call him Machete Zombie because, you know, like I said, George didn't have the rights to the name Blade. You know, I mean, not Blade the vampire, but that's what they called him in Dawn of the Dead. So, but he's basically the same character. It's a good movie. Check it out. It's well worth 31 Days of Horror. I don't know what else to say. Other than that, you know, like I said before, like, subscribe, share, and comment. I am the 13th Wolfman. This is Land of the Dead, and I am on the prowl.